I see this all the time. People call our office and say, hey, I was hit in an accident, and the vehicle that caused the accident was a company truck. How does that affect my case? And it's a good question, and we see it all the time because the company vehicle is usually being operated by an employee. And a lot of questions we get are is the employee's insurance responsible, his own personal insurance? Is the employer's insurance responsible? And it's, depending on the situation, could be both. But the more important question is you want to find out who the company is. And because when you put the company on notice about the claim, you need to make sure you know the actual legal name of the company. Okay. Sometimes they're doing business under different names, and you want to make sure you have all the coverages that are available. And so you have to do some investigation to find out who the true owner of the company is and who their insurance company is.
Would that process change at all if, say, the employee was off duty or not on the clock? Yeah.
If the employee is not on, the at-fault driver who works for the employer is not on the clock, but driving a company vehicle, there are certain circumstances where the company would still be liable. Okay. One particular example is if the employee who's driving the company truck is doing something to further the interest of the employer. But at the same time, even if he's not furthering the interest of the employer, the owner of the truck is responsible for the accident because that owner gave permission to that employee to operate the vehicle. So yes, typically, unless the employee takes the truck or the vehicle without the employer's permission, or there's some other circumstances where he didn't have the consent to drive the vehicle, the company is going to be responsible for the actions of the employee.
And would there be a difference, I would imagine monetarily, but the difference in a company policy versus a personal insurance policy?
Yeah, typically company policies are much larger than personal. I mean, companies are big companies, therefore they have more coverage. But I think the other angle to look at, or the other, what you want to take into consideration, is where an employee who is driving their own vehicle while he's on the job causes an accident. And in those circumstances, since the employee, even though he's driving his own vehicle, if he's on company business, the employer is responsible for that accident, can be held responsible. So at first glance, you may be looking at a car that is owned by an individual and saying, oh, maybe there's not enough insurance here to cover my injuries. But you have to sort of investigate, because if that employee was doing something to further the interest of the employer is responsible. And that opens up a whole different level of insurance coverage. So there has to be some investigation done on every accident, because the employee is not going to tell you that he was on company business. The police officer who investigates the accident is not going to investigate whether or not the at-fault driver was working on the job at the time. So that's just another perspective that needs to be looked at. It may not look like a company vehicle because it may not say it's a company vehicle, but yet if you investigate, you can find sometimes that it is a vehicle being used for a company.